Hey guys, today I'm going to do a book talk on Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. So Clockwork Princess is the third and final book of the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is kind of a prequel trilogy, or prequel series to the Mortal Instruments. So if you don't know, the Infernal Devices series takes place in London in the late 1800s. And there's the Shadowhunters, the London Institute. It's a really good series that takes place then. If you want to see my book talk on Clockwork Angel, which is the first book, and Clockwork Prince, the second book, click the eye up here. And also, if you want to see my book talk for City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass, click the eye up here. So if you have not read Infernal Devices series, then go read it, and then you can come back and we can talk about it. So if you haven't read it, bye. Okay, so Clockwork Princess, it starts out, and Tessa is trying on a wedding dress. She had agreed to marry Jem. So she was trying on a wedding dress, and then Jem knocks and wants to come into the room. It's like, it's bad luck to see a bride in her dress before the wedding day. And so they have to hide, and then Gabriel comes over and says that his dad is a worm. And they're like, yeah, we know that. And then he's like, no, he's an actual worm. So Will, Tessa, Jem, Cecily, Gabriel, Gideon, and Henry all go to the Lightwood Manor, the Lightwood house where they live, to go kill the demon who used to be the Lightwood's father, because the last stage of demon pox is turning into a demon. So they go and they find their sister Tatiana's carriage there, and there was blood all over the seats. And then they find the worm in the Italian gardens, where Tatiana is there as well. So they have Tessa bring Tatiana back to the carriage, and then they fight the creature, which ends up, they figured out that it had killed Tatiana's husband. And so Gabriel, he ends up shooting the final shot into the eye. And Cecilia, who had just started training, she had actually jumped on the creature's back and had stabbed it. And Gabriel was really impressed by that. So Tessa goes and she finds Henry inside the house. And he goes into the study where Lightwood's dad had been before he turned into a demon. And they had found on the wall written, "The Infernal Devices are without pity, the Infernal Devices are without regret, the Infernal Devices are without number, the Infernal Devices will never stop coming." So that was written on the wall in his study before I'd gone mad and mix of his own blood and of demon blood. They also found a bunch of his journals, and then they went back to the Institute after killing the worm and everything. And Gabriel had decided, since he had nowhere else to go, that he would, and Charlotte told him that he could stay at the Institute if he wanted, so he slept there for the night. And then a couple days later, the consul had come and had said that Tatiana had wanted recompensance for what had happened. And so he took Gabriel and Gideon to the Silent Brothers to be questioned, but he actually ended up taking them to a club, to where he said that he threatened them, and he said that if they don't spy on Charlotte for him, that he would make sure that the light was no more Shadowhunters anymore. So they had agreed to do that, and when they did it, they just totally they decided that they would do it, and that they would just make a joke out of it and never tell the truth. So the first one was about how she bought too many hats and how she had spent the money on a bunch of stuff for her. And the second one was hilarious. So they had gone to read a letter, and Sophie had come in and found them writing the letter. And Sophie's like, well, you guys are looking through her mail. and she decided she wouldn't tell them because she ended up reading it. And the letter was all about how she had her great uncle in Idris who was sick, and that she had been showing unfeminine attitude towards him, and she recommended the application of less liquor to cure his gout, shows unmistakable signs of being amused by his dire element of dropsy, and entirely ignores his mentions of a suspicious substance building up within his ears and other orifices. So he was saying that she has run mad with power, and that she had lost all signs of feminine care and respect young women should give to their elders, and that she must be stopped before it's too late. And many brave Shadowhunters are fallen by the wayside for lack of feminine care, which I found super hilarious. And Sophie, she had read it and she had just started laughing. She had agreed not to tell them of any of it. So, before Sophie, or Gideon liked Sophie, and so he had been ordering scones up to his room that he wasn't eating, and Sophie had gotten mad at him for that, making her do extra work and all that, and so she got mad though, even though Gideon was just wanting to see her, but Sophie was saying that they couldn't be together because of that, although eventually they do get together. So when Sophie ascends, since she gets to ascend after everything that happens. So, Jim and Tessa are engaged, and Jim had written a beautiful song for Tessa that he played on his violin for her, and they had shared a moment with that as her engagement present. So, Jim is running low on his supply of yen fin, and so they were trying to get him some more, and Will goes from tavern to tavern and he can't find any anywhere. So they get a note from Whitman with a little bag of yen fin attached to it, and it says that if they give him Tessa, that he will send all of the yen fin he has to them. And Tessa is like, okay, I'll go because the letter's about me. And then Jim's like, no, and so he throws the letter and the yen fin into the fire, and Will dives down and grabs the yen fin out of the fire, and they scoop it up and save some of it. And Jim is like, I am so sorry, there should have been my hand. And so he's apologizing, and he feels so bad because he only has a little bit of yen fin left, but he didn't want Tessa going after that for him, since he didn't want her to risk her to lose her life for just prolonging his, because he didn't think he would live for that long anyways. So Jessamine had come back from the Silent City, because they had decided that she had kind of gone crazy and that they didn't need her there anymore because she wouldn't tell them anything, because she kept saying that Morwen was Idris, even though that wasn't possible and they knew he wasn't. So she had been coming home. She had came back to the Institute in a carriage. Another carriage reported behind her, which I thought was strange because you wouldn't need two carriages. And then when she had come out, a bunch of Clockwork creatures had come out as well of their own carriage, and they had started fighting. So during the fight, they were all fighting and everything, and Tessa got taken because Mrs. Black, she had come over and she had started talking to her, and the Clockwork creatures had grabbed her and taken her in the carriage, and Jim had raced after the carriage, and Will, he had come in a little bit later, so he didn't know that. He went over and saw Jessie was lying by the carriage, kind of crumpled over. She was trying to crawl away, so he helped her, and saying that she needs help, and that he saw blood come from her mouth, and that she had been pierced in the heart by one of the Clockwork creatures. And so she told them to watch her dolls for her, or baby Jessie. Said, take care of baby Jessie for me, and was saying how she's like, what, tell me what Morwen is, and she's like, he's an Idris. It's you're not a very good Welshman or something like that. So she had died, and the Clockwork creatures had managed to finish them, So later Cecilia was talking, it's like, there's a place in Welsh that's Cadar Idris, which has kind of like a Lake Lynn in it and everything, and trying to convince the consul that's where he was. But he would not believe them at all. So Will decided that he would set out by himself to go find Tessa. He grabbed a horse and he started riding away. And after, because Jim, he had gone really bad and really sick, and they didn't think he would be able to recover since he didn't have Ian Finn. And so he was in bed, like almost his deathbed, and he had woken up and he had told Will to go out to Tessa. So he went and he rode for days and days. And at one point he ends up at an inn. He's eating dinner when he feels like the connection between his paramedic snap, and that's when he knew that Jem was dead. So he goes out, and he's like, someone werewolves come to pick a fight with him, and he just kills them. Well, he kills like 2 of them, and the other one he has, and he's like, and Woosley Scott comes out because he was the leader of them, and tells them to stop. He kind of gives Will some advice that he needs to live his life like he would have wanted him to. And Tessa, in the carriage ride, she wakes up with Mrs. Black and sees that, because she had been killed. So she has a really scary body and she screams. And she realizes she needs to save herself. So she gathers all of her weight and she slams into the door and rolls out of a thing. And the angel that she wears on her neck, or Clockwork angel, come down around her and saved her life so she wouldn't die as she fell to the ground. It like grew to full size and saved her and carried her to the ground. And Will had crossed by the path and found the jade pendant that Jim had given her as their engagement gift thing. And he was like, Tessa must have thrown out clues, even though I was like, she's just at the bottom of the thing. If he would have just gone down to the bottom, he could have gotten her already. But anyways, eventually, Tessa wakes up and she follows the path downstream and she eventually finds a house. She goes in and goes to sleep in. And she hears a knock on her, like a scrape on her door. So she knows it's like a Clockwork creature or an Infernal Device. So the blanket she was using, she tried to find the person in it and she changed into them. She went to answer the door and she was playing the part very well. And Mrs. Black was like, have you seen a young girl around here? She looks lost. And she saying that she didn't, and then she had almost convinced her when she saw her Clockwork creature her Clockwork angel around her neck. She's like, that's a nice necklace, and they grab her. So they got her and they brought her. She woke up later in a cell, and there's a bed and it was some furnishing and everything, kind of like a hotel setup. It was like a force field thing. And Mortimer was in there, and he was saying they wanted her to be safe and everything like that, and that she would send all the infant that he had in his possession to Jim if she would just change into someone for him. So she had agreed, even though Jim at this point thought Jim is dead, and so I was like, oh my gosh, Tessa, don't do it, Jim is dead. He would not want you to do it anyways. And so she changes into his father, or his adoptive father, John Shade, and he gives Mortman the last piece he needs to connect the demon injuries to his infernal devices, which makes them to where they can't be killed by the Seraph blades and all the Shadowhunter weapons, and that they can actually use tactic and strategy because there's a demon inside of them. And at one point, Louis Starkweather comes to Charlotte. Charlotte's trying to get the consul to send people to fight against Mortmain because they know where he is, but he won't believe him. And Aloy Starkweather comes and he tells him about how he figured out that his granddaughter, who had died during her first rune ceremony, she had been replaced because for payback, she had been replaced with a mundane, and mundane baby, so that's why she had died, and the actual child had grown up not knowing that she was a shadow hunter, who ended up Elizabeth, who was Tessa's mother. So Tessa's mom was a shadow hunter but never knew it, so she never got marks on her, and that's why Tessa was able to be born, because she was the daughter of a demon and a shadow hunter, but the shadow hunter never got marks, so it wasn't a stillbirth. So, and with that information, that Ellie Stoker that confirmed that she was going to be used as a weapon against the shadow hunters, and that she was going to be the destruction of them. So she wrote to the consul again and told him that she had been told by an informant everything that she had already known, and that Will had said they found the trail of Tessa leading to it. And Tessa had been told, because Mortmain told Tessa that they were going to kind of ruin the Shadowhunter plan by making children that are Shadowhunter and demon, which is super creepy because he's really old and she's like 16. So yeah. Alright, so Charlotte decides that she's going to send letter to everyone in the Clave, not just the Enclave people in London, but everyone around the world, all Shadowhunters, a message to come and fight at noon against, because Henry and Magnus had created a portal, which is what they use in the Mortal Instruments, that would transport them from there from the Institute to the mountain. And so once they had perfected, they had said that tomorrow at noon, any Shadowhunters that wished to help fight would come and help fight. And the consul had decided to call a meeting, so they couldn't do that. So Will reached the village, like right outside the mountain, and he woke up and from people running from the homes, because the Clockwork creatures, Tessa had tried to appeal to Mortmain's better side, that he could be a better man. And he had sent the Clockwork creatures to the village. They would burn the houses, so when the people ran out, they could kill them. But luckily, Will had gotten away. And then he had followed some of the Clockwork creatures into Mortmain's place, and he had found a bunch of them that like weren't animated right now. And on the wall, he had found the same things written about the Infernal Devices. They were out regret, without pity, without number, and they would never stop coming. And so he ended up finding Tessa, and he like walked across the room and felt a little resistance. And Tessa's like, "Oh my gosh, Will, you really wouldn't think you'd leave me in a room without any protection." It's like, "Now you're as second here as I am." It's like, "That's okay." So they sleep together. And the next day, Magnus, Cecily, Gideon, Gabriel, Henry, Sophie, Bridget, Cyril, and Charlotte all go to the mountain. And Tessa had woken up. Oh, and also with Silent Brother, three of them, Brother Enoch, Brother Zachariah, and another one that I can't remember. But there was three of Silent Brothers that came. And they had gone to fight. And so Tessa had woken up, and Magnus had found them sleeping together, which was mortifying for them. It's like, "You better get some clothes on. The other people will be here soon." They're like, "Alright." So they get dressed in the gear that he had brought. And they meet them all back in the center room, but they had started fighting the Clockwork creatures. So they were fighting them. Henry gets really badly hurt and can't walk anymore. And then Charlotte runs over to him, and they manage so they could get a portal to get out. Someone and the Clockwork creature, one of them had dragged Tessa into a dark corridor thing. So Henry had a thing in his pocket that made the Clockwork creatures like stop for a second. So he had Celia throw it out for him, and it stopped all the Clockwork creatures. Then Mortmain came into the room, and he's like, "Stop! Bring me Tessa." And so the Clockwork creature that had been hiding in the corridor brought him Tessa. And Tessa was saying, like, "You stay with me. I won't kill them. I'll just keep them as prisoners. So if you ever do anything wrong, like that's your threat, so you never do anything wrong." And so she, when he was dragging her over to, she grabbed onto her Clockwork Angel. The night before, she had thrown it off her since she like stabbed it with a poker in the fire, and it had brought out the angel Ethereal, who was also the angel that Clare and Jace had found in the Wayland Manor in the basement. But he had talked and said that life is a precious thing, that she has a guardian angel. So she had grabbed later when she was with Mormon again. She got the necklace, tried to reach the life inside. She transformed into the angel, which burned the clockwork creature, and she talked to Mortmain. It's like, no one can, you're trying to give the gift to her and you can't create life. She grabbed him and she just squished him and broke his bones, and he died, which is a really, really fast death, which is awesome because finally that problem was solved. And so when she changed back into herself, she was like burning. And then she had been sort of in delirious sleep for the next couple of days. And during the battle, Brother Zachariah's hood had fallen off, and see that it was Jim. So Jim actually hadn't died. He had just gone and become a silent brother so that he could live, thankfully. Since I thought Jim was dead, but he wasn't. And that was like, oh my gosh. So he was a silent brother, but he was still alive, thankfully. So at home, Tessa finally woken up after like days of kind of being in coma and stuff like that from turning into the angel. Her angel, though, had been set free, so she no longer had it. Bill had been with her when she had woken up, and at one point he asked her to marry him, so they had agreed to be married. And Jim had come and talked to Tessa, and they agreed that, which is really sweet, that they would meet every year on the Blackfriars Bridge where they had the first real talk. So that's where they would meet every year for an hour, so that they could see each other still. Since they were both lived for a long time, since he was a silent brother and she was a warlock, kind of. And let's see, they had like a Christmas party to kind of celebrate everything, and that's when Jim's uncle had come by in the family heirloom that he tried to give to Will, which was a sword, but he didn't want to take it. And Will had stormed out onto the front steps, and Jessie, as a ghost, had come to him and talked to him and was saying that she had been the guardian over the institute now that she was dead. And Will told her that her room was exactly like that, and she was taking care of her dolls. But he was taking care of her dolls. And she said that she had been getting like farther and farther up the steps, and that she could go like this far now. And she used to only be able to go a tiny bit up. Then one day she hoped to be able to go in. And then Magnus had come out and said that he was leaving London for something different, and he was going to take Church with him where he went. Which is how Magnus and Church both ended up in New York with the other people and the Wonder Instruments. So Will had given her a book that he had written poetry. He had written like something at the front of it for her on the description in A Tale of Two Cities, which was her favorite book, and she had loved that. So later on, earlier that day, Sophie had ascended so she now could become a Shadowhunter, and Gideon and her were going to be married. And Will went to go see his parents and brought Tessa. Celie brought Gabriel, and Will had said that Tessa was the person he was going to marry, and they had been so happy to see their son and daughter again, especially Will, because they hadn't seen them in so long. And the epilogue at this takes place in 2008, which was like right after the first Wonder Instruments book happened. And it was on Blackfriars Bridge in London. And I saw that, I was like, that's so sweet. Even after 130 years, they were still meeting on the bridge for an hour. So Tessa was thinking about all that happened about the day Will had died. When she had all the family, their kids, and Sophie's kids and Charlotte's kids, who had red hair, had come, and they were telling stories about Will, and that Jim had come to, and he had played a song about Will's life, and that Jim held his hand and said, "Now you may go in peace," and Tessa was sitting by him, and that he had died. And then Jim had come, and he wasn't in Silent Brothers robes, he was just in normal clothes, and he said that he had, and Tessa was like, "So you don't have to be tied to the Silent Brothers anymore?" He said no, and he said that he didn't want to go back and be a shadow hunter because he wouldn't know how to do it without Will, and he didn't want to. And he was saying that he's like, things have changed, that Magnus had found a cure, and that things have changed in Shadowhunter world, and that said, "Let me tell you a story about another Fairchild, Herondale, and Lightwood," which I was really happy about because Fairchild, Clary, Herondale, Jace, and Lightwood, which is Isabel and Alec. So I was kind of like, I was really happy when I read that. It's like, it will take more than, it would take some time though, so we probably should go inside. And he was going to ask her a question, but then he was like, no, never mind. And he ran off, and she chased after him, because he had asked if she ever loved anyone after Will, and she had said that she hadn't. Well, she hadn't, and so they ran off, and she chased after him. Like, what were you going to say? It's like, no, it was stupid, I shouldn't have said it. And she's like, here, let me say it then. It's like, when she said to know him, that was wrong, because she had always loved Jim, and that she loved Jim and Will both a whole lot. So she asked him if he wanted to see the world with her, because she wanted to show it to him. He said yes, and at the end of his part, it was like, if the Thames River remembered them, the two people, because they had said kissing, so if the Thames River, it's like, and if the Thames River or the Blackfriar Bridge remembered them, they didn't say anything, but if they would, they would be saying, at last the wheel comes full circle. That's what they would be saying, because that's where they had talked that one night for the first time, really, and they had come together. So I really liked this book. I think the series was really good. I really liked the Infernal Devices. And this cover actually is really cool too. There's her Clockwork Angel down here, and then there's Tessa herself right here. So this series was really good. I really liked it. I really liked that there was things in it like Church and Magnus, and that like there was all the characters in it. They're like older people. Like there was Fairchild, Herondale, and Lightwoods all like in the next series. Just really liked this one. It was really good. And I'm really glad that I read it. And so, let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.